Hello and welcome to Being Cosmick. If it's your first time here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. My messages are collective readings, so with that, go ahead and take what resonates and leave the rest for who it's meant for. Sometimes in collective readings, everything will resonate, and sometimes it'll be just bits and pieces. So go ahead and just take what's for you and leave the rest. All right. Ooh, that might come out. All right, Spirit. Taking a step aside to let Spirit pass through. Okay. What does the collective need to hear today? All right, let's get into it. I'm going to take 4. Ask for 4. Okay. All right. Oh, there's our 4. Okay. So we've got initiation, which is in the water element. So that's what governs our emotions. We've got celebration, which is also in water. We've got receptivity, which is in air, so that's our mental space, our thoughts, things like that. And then we've got contemplation, which is in earth, so that's our physical experience. So with this initiation card, and the celebration, actually, what I'm picking up is that you're in a phase in life where you're stepping into kind of a new version of yourself. And with that, celebrate this. You can go out to celebrate. You can just give yourself some kudos for it. And just know that now's the time to appreciate where you're at. We've got receptivity. And so with this card, what this is symbolic of is, to me, when I get this, it can be when we're intaking an abundance of information, or an abundance of energy. And with that, it's recommended, and that's where this contemplation card comes in. So it's recommended to maybe sit in meditation, do something where you are releasing a lot of that energy. Sometimes what happens when we're intaking a ton of energy is it kind of gets mixed up with hours. And so it's probably recommended to do something, and you can do it right now and just claim that any energy that is not for your highest good, that you release it. And this is something you can do silently. You can do it multiple times a day, and especially if you're feeling like your energy is shifting a lot during the day, sometimes that can be because you're taking on other people's energies or just other energies in general. We've got the collective energy, which is really intense right now. And so it's really recommended to do something where you can get still, get quiet. It can be for, 5 minutes even. And then you just release anything that is not yours, anything that is no longer serving you, and just set that intention. And through that alone, that will completely shift your vibration. So with this initiation card, maybe that's something that you're stepping into right now, to where you're becoming more and more aware of your energy and where it's leaking out, basically, where it's, you go into a certain environment and you realize that you're just drained. And so with that, sometimes on the awakening journey, we crack open and we're very, very sensitive to everything. And so just be mindful of that. It takes practice and just conscious awareness to understand that in certain environments, we're more susceptible to picking up other energies. And so, like, if you're going to the grocery store, that's not the time to, fully crack open and be open and susceptible to, all energies, because there's so much conflicting energy in, really busy public spaces. And so that's the time to get more kind of centered, grounded, and then, you're not picking up, you're not absorbing all of that energy. But with the celebration card, I feel like you're doing this already. I feel like you're doing this right now, and celebrate the fact that you're at this place, because when you're in the place to fully own your energy and where you are very in tune with that, it gets easier and easier once you're aware of it, and once you've done it a few times. That's, that whole practice thing. Practice, I don't want to say makes perfect, but practice makes it easier. There was once upon a time when, writing our letters was very difficult. And, now we don't really have to think about it, in our adult years, because we've done it so many times. So it's the same kind of thing when we are taking control of our energy field and our internal state of being. And so just keep doing that. You can do something as far as like an actual meditation or, burning sage, things like that. But it doesn't always have to be some elaborate intentional thing where you're sitting there and you're like, I need to, meditate for 15 minutes and like put all these parameters on it. You can just step in and just own your energy and release what isn't yours, what's no longer serving. So congrats. This is awesome. I'm going to see if anything else wants to come out for you. That one? No. Maybe. Well, we'll see. Anything else? Okay. Reflection. Let's see if one more wants to come out. So this reflection card, I'll show it to you here in a minute. All of these. Okay. We're doing all of them. Okay, so with this reflection card, this is in the fire element, which is our spiritual space. And with this, what always pops to me and what's really, really popping right now is this heart space. So you can see there's like this orb of light in the middle, and then there's the green energy around it, which is for our heart chakra. And then she's also looking in the mirror. So she's looking in the mirror at herself with this cracked open heart chakra. And when our heart chakra is open, or when we're really doing a lot of work on that heart space, sometimes this is something that I don't really know if it's talked about as much. Sometimes it can hurt a little bit to crack open our chakras, and especially the heart space. When we are in this space to where we're tapping more into that heart space, it's always worth it. That's where, we can show up in the world in our best self. And with that, when we're breaking down heart walls and we're going through old wounds, it can be uncomfortable. And sometimes, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not giving medical advice. If you're feeling like you have something going on with your heart space, check with your doctor first. If there's nothing that is, medically going on, we can get heart palpitations, we can get pressure, we can get, sometimes it feels like the symptoms of what a heart attack would feel like. And that's why I said definitely check and make sure that that's not what's going on. If there's nothing medically going on, then what could be happening is you could be going through upgrades in the heart space. And when we're doing a lot of spiritual work, our heart space is where that's where we're showing up in this love frequency, and then that's when we can really attract what we want back into life. And this goes in phases, and that's the other thing too, is sometimes it'll be like, okay, I've done all this work and I'm ready to show up in the world and I'm, open and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, it's that spiral. We go back, and then, we go a level deeper and a level deeper with the healing. And it's something that we continuously do. It's not like we're going to heal to an end point. It's something that we are always working through. And sometimes we think that we've healed a wound, or we've, fully gone through a process, and then only to later come back and be like, oh, actually I didn't fully release it, or I didn't even realize that this little bit of a heart wall was still up. And so with that, just keep doing that. That's really, it's always worth it. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Now, this creativity card that came out is also in fire. And then with this, our creative energy oftentimes sits in our sacral chakra. And, the color of that one is orange. And the best way to really work on healing, this is also where our sexual energy comes from. And when we're healing the sacral chakra, the one of the really easy, sometimes it's easy. If you haven't been creative in a long time, it's not as easy. But again, with practice, it becomes easier. Tap back into your creativity if you haven't been. And that can be something like getting, I say an adult coloring book, but even a children's coloring book. Sometimes those are easier. They're less detailed. They don't take as long. And sit down with some crayons or some markers and just color it. That right there can tap you into that sacral energy. And when we're tapping into that, that's literally our God source energy. So source is creative energy. The divine creator is a creator, and we are all, as humans, creator beings. And so when we tap into any sort of creativity, right now, we're kind of in that holiday season. So it could be getting, like a little glass jar and, hot gluing some ribbon around it with some little, holly, like faux holly greenery or something, whatever. But, maybe look into creating your own ornaments. I mean, nowadays with Pinterest, there's creative ideas and projects for beginner all the way to advanced. Maybe pick something up and learn it. If, you're like, I always wanted to learn to knit, maybe now's the time to start knitting and, look up some tutorials and start knitting. Little side tangent, my daughter's in a Waldorf school, and they start with, they call it birdie knitting, but it's finger knitting. And it's really easy. It's something that can be like meditative almost. And I never knew how to knit. And then my daughter started doing these things, and I started playing around with it, with her. And she would teach me little tips and tricks, but it's something you can look up on Pinterest, look up finger knitting. And it's, it keeps your hands busy. It's something you can do. You can watch it as you're doing it, or you could sit there, and once you kind of have the technique a little bit, you can light a candle, or if you've got a fireplace, light a fire and do that with your hands, and then meditate. Just do a visual meditation on the fire. You don't have to do anything special with it, just watch the flames. That right there can get you into that creative source energy. And really, those little things, even coloring in a coloring book for 5 minutes, tapping back into that creative energy is only going to help really move that energy through the chakra system, and it helps your connection with source as well. And so it doesn't have to be some elaborate thing. It can be something just as simple as that. Maybe doodling. If it's something that you used to love to draw when you were younger and you quit drawing, get a piece of paper and just start sketching again. You don't have to show it to anybody. You don't have to make it this, professional piece, but it's just that act of creating that is a really quick and easy way to tap back into that source energy. So with this next card, we've got separation, which is in earth. And so again, that's our physical experience. The separation card, the main thing that I always think of with this is it's a codependent break. And so, it's the equivalent of, breaking up, but not fully releasing it. It's, for me, I really experienced this when it was time for me and my family to move, and I was fighting it. And everything around us was just sign after sign after sign of it's time to move, it's time to move, it's time to move. And I just kept fighting it. And once those signs start to really come in from the divine that it's time for you to take the next step, it's time for you to fully release something, the harder you fight against it, the harder and more of an intense experience you're going to have later. And so that's part of this journey as well, is just trusting in the process, trusting in yourself, trusting in the guidance that you're getting. And so with this, there could be something going on in your life right now where it's coming to an end, it's time to, this could be a belief system, this could be old ways of thinking, old patterns, up to like an actual relationship. It can be, maybe a job, maybe there's a career. Oftentimes this is going to be something, it can be like headspace stuff, but most of the time it is going to be something in your physical experience. So maybe you've been getting nudges like it's time for you to get a different job, start a different career path, something like that. And you've been getting these signs and these synchronicities and it's time to do it, but you're just, like, I just don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I really want to do that. This would be your sign that now is the time to fully separate from that and to embrace the new. Because once we fully make that choice of, okay, this is no longer working for me, and so now I'm stepping into something new, that opens up the pathways for everything that's more in alignment to start to come in. And then with the next card here, we've got connection. And so this is in water as well, which is our emotional space. And so this connection, this can be a relationship with somebody, but it can also be a connection with the higher self. And with these other cards here, I'm taking it more as a connection with the higher self, and really stepping into that place where we're letting our source energy come fully through, and we are taking our ego self aside. And the ego's not bad, it's there for a reason. It's there to keep us alive and safe, and with that, the unknown is scary to the ego. And so sometimes this can be symbolic of kind of kicking the ego into the back seat and allowing our higher self to take the driver's seat. And just like, hey, you're still here. All is well. If we need you, you can jump up here and you can take over, But we're going to let the higher self take over, because the higher self knows where we want to go. And the higher self has a different, the higher self has the map, to where the ego just has visually what's in front, basically, and what's in the past. And so it's making all these decisions on where we're going based on where we've been, to where the higher self is coming in, knowing the entire lay of the land, knowing all the back roads, knowing all the, the hidden mile markers and things like that. And the higher self knows of destinations that the ego self can't even fathom. And so when we allow our higher self to come in and to take the reins, or take the steering wheel basically, and be in the driver's seat, that's what then allows all of the things that we want in life, and things that we don't even know we want, to start coming in. And so this is really a beautiful balanced energy right here. And so just know that, you're doing the work, you're really stepping up into this next phase of life that's going to be extremely rewarding. And the one thing that could be holding you back is whatever's going on with the separation card. And so just maybe take this as an invitation to really look into that. Maybe sit in meditation and contemplate this. Something that my mentor told me and taught me, she was actually the artist who designed these cards, I'll link her below. But something that she told me was, prayer is asking and meditation is listening. And so, that might be for somebody to be able to sit and listen, and kind of listen to different guidance, listen to different, little nudges that your soul is calling you towards right now. oftentimes that's where this receptivity card comes in as well. Oftentimes when we're being so bombarded, this can also be purposeful distraction. And so this can be, doom scrolling on social media, binging Netflix, those kinds of things. And when we're in this energy of just bombarding ourselves with lots of energy and lots of distractions, it's really hard to get into this contemplation place and listen. And then it makes things like, the separation prolong, and eventually, especially if you're on this spiritual journey, the more you ignore your guidance that's coming in, the harder it's going to come crashing down later in a non-scary way. It's just one of those, like, if it's in your highest good to move forward with something and to release something, you're at the soul level, that's what you're doing. And so the more the ego fights that, the more extreme, I guess, that the circumstances will be when it's finally like, all right, we've been telling you, we've been showing you the signs, we've been gently guiding you. This is time. It's time to release it. It's time to move forward. It's time to release it. It's time to move forward. And then the ego self fights and fights and fights. And then finally the higher self and source comes in and is like, okay, the time is now. Boom. And, it shakes things up. And so it's just a lot easier on the ego self, if we listen to this guidance as it's coming in. And, this is something that took me a long time to do. And I still find myself in spots where I'm like, really? Like, this is really what we're doing? And, it's just being able to surrender and trust in the divine process is, it actually allows the ego self to take a deep breath too. Because it's like, hey, you don't have to do all of this. You don't have to exert so much energy doing these things. There's somebody, somebody meaning like your higher self, that knows the lay of the land, that can navigate this just a lot smoother. So, give your ego self that break. And with this, I feel like this is really the energy you're in right now. And if you're not in it, like at this exact moment, this is where you're shifting into very, very quickly. So, with that, it's really awesome when we do let our higher self take the reins and we do listen to those little nudges, because all of a sudden we start to see things, you'll start to notice like miracles happening in your life, and just it happens in ways that the ego couldn't even fathom. It's, when you're opening yourself up for abundance and you find pennies on the ground, that is source getting you in that space and recognizing that you are in that space. And then if you take a minute and go, wow, thank you, and allow that and see that that's the abundant energy that you're putting out, even though it might be pennies right now. The more you feed that and just be thankful for that and grateful for that, the more it's going to come back in. And so for this, what kind of just came up too as an example, if you're in this space where you're wanting to attract love in your life, when you're in that space, then all of a sudden you're at, the store and somebody's very, very kind to you. Somebody compliments you. Understand that you're starting to reflect back that love energy into your life. And so that's something as well, to just notice those little signs and synchronicities that come in that way. Another very tangible way that this happens is if you're manifesting a new car and you've got, it doesn't even have to be like a specific type of car, but let's say you're attracting an SUV. Then all of a sudden you look around and everywhere you look, you see an SUV, especially with temp tags, like a new one that somebody just got, and you're driving down the street and you see one with temp tags. Thank the universe, thank the divine for that, and just say something, it doesn't have to be out loud, but you can say something like, thank you for this new SUV. Thank you for the new SUV. And I'm acknowledging that it's coming in. Even though you're physically not in it and you're not driving it at the moment, that's the universe attempting to give it to you now. And then when we believe that we are ready for it, that's when we will actually manifest it in the physical, and we will be driving the new SUV. And so that's kind of, you know, a little bit of how that manifestation energy works. And it just, the more you realize how it works and the more you can acknowledge those little things and be appreciative of it, the more you're opening up that pathway, and the more you're securing your spot in that vibration. And then it's just by continuing to secure your spot in that vibration, the more and more you're going to be able to attract that fully into your life. Okay. Awesome. So with that, I just felt the energy leave a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this reading here for you guys. If you liked this, definitely hit that like button for me. If you would like more messages like that, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And if you'd like to leave me a comment about how this is showing up in your life, I would love, love, love to hear it. So with that, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you. Bye.